Hey everyone, this is Bart Moyers with another in a series of SKP Talks. And today I have the pleasure of introducing to you Justin Adams. Hey Justin.
Hey, what's going on, Bart? How you doing, my friend?
Great, great. Justin covers news and sports for CBS 4 TV, both as an anchor and a reporter. He's a native of Denver who graduated from both Montbello High School and the University of Colorado. And he and his family love living in the Centennial State. So Justin has an extensive sports background, and in 2020 became the person to cover news as well for CBS here in Denver. And for our conversation today, it's important to note that Justin is married and has a child. They just had their 5th anniversary, and Justin, it's just great to have you. So let's begin this way. Tell me a bit about your family. I'd love to know more about how you and your wife got to know each other and what's it like being a dad.
It's amazing being a father. And again, Bart, thank you so much for having me on. One of the biggest things that I love is just to be able to spend time with my wife. We met actually at a friend's going away party in, I think it was maybe 2012. And so met there and, she was on the dance floor and it was a salsa dance floor. And so, my thing was I looked and I was like, why is this beautiful woman dancing by herself? Because I thought, she was married, and so walked up to my friend who was, leaving. Actually, he lives in Washington, D.C. now. And he was telling me, no, she's single. And so me being the kind gentleman I am, I was like, you know what? She really needs a friend tonight. So let me make sure that she has a friend. And so long and short of it, we went from that. And we were married January 14th, 2017. And it's been wonderful ever since from there. She is truly an amazing woman and a woman who took a risk on me. We always, say, oh man, you try to go out and get, your wife or whatnot, but she really took a huge risk on me, and I'm so grateful and thankful for her. She's an executive director of child care licensing in her own right. She is a truly amazing woman. We have one son. His name is his full name is Justin Alexander Adams Jr., but we call him Alexander for short. So he's going to be 3 in April, or so time flies with the little guy.
You bet. Do you like being a father?
I love it. I love being a father. Every day, valuing the importance of being a father. And, I think the one thing that you learn is that you go through different phases where you're going through the providing phase, I feel, where you're just like, I got to provide, I got to spend the extra hours and all this other stuff with your career. But now you realize that, time waits for no one. So the importance of just spending time with your family is really large, really huge.
Yeah, that boy will grow up fast.
Yes,
So enjoy him while he's young, and you're just going to always have him as your partner, your dreamer, your schemer. It'll be a great ride, my friend. I know that you'll enjoy it. Justin, I remember you telling me that you're a man of faith, and so how does that help in being a husband and a father?
You can't do it without it, or at least I know that people have, but for me, I am a better husband. I'm actually the husband I'm meant to be when I'm walking within my faith, and I'm walking within the Christian faith. Let's call it what it is, right? And so, but think of verses in Timothy where it talks about being kind to your wife, treating your wife as an equal, and loving her in an understanding way. There's an importance of me understanding my wife, understanding what makes her go, what makes her happy, what makes her upset, and different things like that. And I'm learning that as I go on in my marriage as well. But it is huge in order to be a husband and to be a father, to be a truly effective father. It's all about through your faith.
I appreciate your values, my friend. Let me ask you this. We all have dads. Mm-hmm. Sometimes our stories with our dads are good ones and not so good ones. Would love to hear about your story, about your dad and how that was for you.
Yeah, so Dr. John Henry Adams the third, but I make sure that I put the doctor out there because a lot of times what happens is he just goes with John Adams, but I let him know, I'm like, hey, you earned that doctorate, and so he is truly an amazing man. And, on my profile, I put that he's my biggest influence, and he is. He truly is my biggest influence in every way. And the reason why is because he was there for me. And we butted heads, don't get me wrong. I mean, I think there's something within that, like you have to butt heads in one portion or another. but it just draws you closer. And so he really is it for me. Just getting a chance to talk to him, getting a chance to, see him not only as a dad, but as a friend as well now at this stage of my life. And everything from when I played football at the University of Colorado, he helped put together my resume tape, when I was having my doubts at CU, he was there, the first guy who was there to, and I'm not saying my mom was as well, but there was something special to having your dad in your life and having your dad older, have your dad make that drive from, he works at East High School. So having him make that drive from there meant the world to me. And he's a man of faith as well. Actually, we come from a line of preachers. My dad preaches, my grandfather preaches, my great grandfather singing in the pew when he passed, but he was a part of the church. So that's really where we come from that line from. But it just shows that my dad was there. And I can't think of the verse right now, but one of the verses in the Word talks specifically about not just saying that you love somebody, but showing them that you love them. My dad is the epitome of showing that he loves me.
You bet. Well, definitely that's had an impact on your life. I can tell that he's done a great job in helping you navigate this crazy world that we're a part of. And yeah, very grateful that you're able to share. I know for me, as I see you on TV, sometimes you can do happy stories. Sometimes you can do the sad stories that we have to have in this life. But I knew tracking you that there has to be something else in this guy's life other than the joy of journalism. And I was so glad to pick up the phone and find that we had this common faith together. I love how you, on those positive stories, you respond by saying 100%. And that's kind of your thing. But you know how to be empathetic as well when we have those tough stories to tell. And I just appreciate the work that you do for the station as well as what you bring to our city. And that's all tied back to your dad, I feel, having believed in you and having really worked with you through life. And that's just a great testimony to your family. So it's wonderful to be able to hear that and to share that with us today.
Well, Bart, if I may add one thing, and I don't want to take over the conversation.
Please,
but, the biggest thing I could say about my dad, and it's one thing that I would love to implement more so in my life, is my dad is truly a praying man. And I think what's so easy today is that we could go replace, I'll pray for you. Like for example, if something's going on and we say, hey, can you please pray for me? And then what generally happens is somebody will either text back or say back like, hey man, I'll keep you lifted in prayer. And that's pretty much the prayer, right? Like that ends right there. Me telling you that I will keep you in prayer, but it doesn't happen. Or we'll send an emoji, right? Or we'll send like the praying hands, and that will pretty much be it, right? My dad is truly a man of prayer. Not just a man of faith, but a man of prayer. And what I'm starting to realize, even for myself, is that that's very rare in today's day. If we're hungry, we don't go to an auto shop and say, hey, man, I need some food. No, you go to an auto shop to get your car repaired. If we wanted to watch a movie, we're not going to a basketball game. Why would you go to a basketball game where you wanted to watch a movie, right? That makes no sense. It's still entertainment, but it's not the same. But when you need prayer and when you need somebody to really, really pray for you when something's going on, you want to find and be around people of prayer who you know is going to either lay hands on you or is going to keep you lifted up, who's going to not just pray for you that day, but see the process through until completion. And that's what my dad is. And so if there's one big compliment that I could give to my father, more than him just being a great man of faith. We all have our flaws, right? But that just brings us closer to Christ. But my dad is a man of prayer. And if there's one thing that I need to implement and wish to implement in my life is the way that he prays for people.
Well, that totally comes to you as well. The first time that we had a meeting like this, before we ended, you said, let me pray for you. And I just really was impressed. So again, that heart has been passed down from your dad to you for sure. So thanks a lot. Justin, the reason I asked you to be here today and spend a little time with us is to brainstorm some ways that we can help fathers in the Denver metro area, especially in the African-American community. It's been said that 1 out of every 4 families in the U.S. are without fathers. What's your opinion? What's led to this crisis in the first place? What do you think?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of different things you can look at historically, especially from the African American view, right? And so you can look back from, being taken from Africa, then slavery from there, having families literally from that point being all over the place, being taken away from one another, right? And so you no longer have the father and the mother right there together, right? And I think one thing that's very important to push out is that there's so much trauma that's been passed down from generation to generation to generation that has not been dealt with. So we talk about mental health and things like that. Those things have not been dealt with, right? And so now you go into present day where there are more young men who are looking to be great fathers, right? But it's talking about the importance of it. What's the value of being a great dad, right? And so I even see with my son where it's just an amazing opportunity to be able to raise this boy. But there's so many things that could grab at you at all times. So the importance of marriage is one, right? The importance of marriage is one, and then also the importance of understanding the value of being able to raise the next generation. There are not many things that will go after you, right? For example, you could say, "Oh, I could set up a trust account. I could set up different money, different funds, and that will be what will be able to go after me, right? You can't take your money with you. You can't take anything with you." But the other thing as well is that what you put into your son, what you put into your daughter as a father, the things that you teach them, that's going to carry on. Literally, the living embodiment of what you taught them is carrying on in them, and so that's important to be able to have that, to be able to build up great families again, um, and to also raise great men, great fathers, and that's something that needs to be taught too. If we could get taught algebra, if we could get taught our ABCs, then also as young men, we need to be taught how to be great fathers.
That's great. I view this as a multiracial problem, and to highlight it here in Denver Metro, I think is very, very important. When I go to the Bible, I find that children are a reward from God. And that's not the view that a lot of men have when they have children. Uh, there's lots of different thoughts that come to their minds, but what an amazing gift that we're given, a reward to be able to have children and to raise them up and to learn so much about ourselves as we help them to grow. So, I know that you're a native of Denver, you're a newsman, you are boots on the ground for sure. And just looking at people here in Denver Metro, what's going on in our community? What's it like here in Denver? Are Black men, Hispanic men, white men, are we getting a clue? Are we seeing positive changes? What do you see out there?
That's a great question. I would always, I'm always a positive individual. So I always would say that there's one way or another that there are, that, there's more men that I do life with, right? That are making that positive change, right? That are living in that area of positivity. I know the word talks about the importance of being careful of who you hang around with, right? What is it? Bad? Oh, goodness. Ow. Bad company corrupts good character.
Yeah,
One of
that
those,
works. That works.
And so, the long and short of it, I see that, our problem is not, it's not different from anybody else. It's not different from anyone else in the world, to be very honest with you. When you look at what's going on in Denver, especially with fathers, it's all about being able to raise young men to understand the value of what it means to be a great dad, and then understand the pleasure of what it is to be a great dad, right? Like we talk about what the word says, right? That like children are, it's a gift from God, right? Like that is, wait a minute. So you telling me that this child that is crying, pooping, right? He's a gift from God. Wow. And I think it's not only that we need to discover deeply the gift, but also the gift giver as well. Mm-hmm. And once we understand that portion better, then there's no other way that you can't become a better father. Now, here's the thing though. Are we helping out individuals? Are we giving men the resources so that they may be able to be the great dads that they need to be, right? Not everyone is going to be driving a Ferrari or a Bentley or different things like that, or have the finances to do that. But do they have the necessary things to be able to take care of the basic needs, the basic requirements. I think of in Proverbs 30, where one of the individuals is asking, "Hey God, please don't give me too much that I could think that I could do this on my own. But Lord, please don't give me, nothing, or less that I feel like I'll have to steal in order to do what I need to do, just in general." And so long and short of it, we need to make sure that all men, all fathers are able to truly take care of their families' basic needs, for sure.
You tapped into something really great there. I want to dig deeper. What are some fresh ideas, maybe some things that you're doing yourself that really could help to grow a grassroots movement where we have young men growing up to love fatherhood? I don't know what do you see? What are you doing? What are things that help out?
Yeah, I think it just starts off with one. I love this. I was covering the Super Bowl for Pro Athletes Outreach back in 2018. I think it was in Minnesota, one of the two. And one of the guys that we were with has an amazing ministry. But as he was driving, his prayer was, "Lord, let me just see one. Let me just touch one today." And if you think about that, if our prayer is to touch one, and you look at that day in a year, that's 365, right? You look at 365, you times that out, man, you got ridiculous numbers, right? That are happening. But I think the mindset needs to be number one of saying, I want to just touch one person today, and then one person the next day, and then build around that. There are so many different men, there are so many different young men who need to see what it means to be a great father. Yeah. And so if you're looking for a grassroots program, you can start at a school, honestly. You can start at your church. You can start at just the community that you're with, and then go from there. I'm always reminded that Jesus didn't start by developing a huge organization, right? He didn't get a nonprofit. No, he just got 12. And he poured into that 12. And that 12 poured into others. And now you look at it where there's billions of individuals who have believed on Christ and believed on his message. So I would say the same way, it's just finding the few and pouring your life into them. And I know we kind of look at numbers and say, wow, look at the hundreds and thousands and look how we filled the area, right? But can we be faithful with the few? Can we be faithful with the one or two? That's what's important.
One or two, that works. Talking about resources here, I think one of the greatest untapped resources are single men today. And single men may be listening to this Zoomcast here and say, well, I don't have children, so what am I doing talking about fatherhood issues? Our society needs men who can stand up and say, listen, I am going to pour my life into this youth, and I am going to be a player that matters in his life. You don't have to have your own children. You don't have to be married to be a father for other people or a mentor. There are great programs, and I think that's something worthy of talking about. We have the Boys and Girls Clubs. Tony Dungy has put together something called All Pro Dad Chapters, and I'm aware of 4 or 5 happening here in Denver, where once a month there are fathers and kids that meet together. The one I'm thinking of is in Aurora. They have breakfast, and they just have a curriculum that they spend an hour and a half going through, and it's all about building up the character of these kids. And the fathers get up and tell everyone who's listening why they're proud of that child for that month. It's just an amazing story that Tony Dungy and his friends have put together. And then, of course, we have our SKP camp that we do at the end of July this year, 2022, up in Frazier. And that's a father-son camp where we're inviting people to come and experience a weekend with us. And we have lots of different experiences to help fathers and sons connect with each other as well as with God. And also this year, we're trying to incorporate kids that don't have fathers, and we want to provide mentoring for them. So those are some ideas. Maybe you know some resources that come to your mind.
Well, the number one resource that comes to my mind is Young Life. I grew up in Young Life. So that was a huge place as well. What's some other resources that I had? So I had the Sky's the Limit. It's no longer around, but there was the Sky's the Limit camp that was going on. I think it was Doulos Ministries at the time. I grew up in that. But nothing should replace home.
Yeah.
And as long as we're coming back, Bart, the thing is that we don't want to have people go and say, rely on an organization. We want people to say your grassroots start to help.
That's right.
And so that would be what the emphasis should always be, is that, yeah, you can go out in organizations. Yeah, you can go outside these walls and do a lot of different things. You can go and be a part of different men's groups or whatnot. But at the end of the day, what happens when you come back home? What happens when you're exhausted from work? And I know this for sure, right? You're exhausted from work. It's not just turning the switch and being a dad. You're a dad at all times, right? You're a husband at all times. Can you continue to do that? How can we pour into you so that you can continue to be effective in that area? So there are a lot of different great organizations. You got the local church, you got different men's organizations as well. But all of this should be pointing back to being the best individual, to be the best husband and father you could be at home.
To your point, I was reading something about the Hebrews or the Jews, and the Orthodox fathers, they believe that by the age of 7, all the major Bible stories ought to be told to their children. Wow. Where do you find time for that? Well, you got to make time. And right. I know it's a real struggle because young fathers want to go out there and make their living and bring home the bacon and all that kind of good stuff, and mothers as well. But we can do that and miss an amazing chapter in helping our children know God, know a relationship with father and mother. And so those are some things that I think, because this is, in my opinion, the greatest social ill of the day, fatherlessness, I think that there's a difference to be made. And I want to pull on your ears for a second, Justin. I think that you are a man who, in my opinion, has proven to be a man who can do his job, not get caught up in the world that's out there in media, but you really are boots on ground, feet on ground. And there is a place for you to be a leader for sure in your own family, but I think that there's a place for you to really shine in our community, and you're already shining. But I just want to encourage you to continue in what you're doing and be a light, and look for ways to spread your father love to others. And so anyway, I sure appreciate the time that we have spent today. Is there one more thing that you'd like to leave with us before we wrap it up, Justin?
Yeah, Bart, one of my favorite verses is Proverbs 14:23. In all hard work, there's a profit, but mere talk leads to poverty. Another verse, Proverbs 13:22. A great man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. And so both of those are extremely important for me. For one, it's my motivation when I work, right? Colossians 3:17-23. Those are two great verses as well, right? Whether you eat or drink, whatever you do it all in the name of the Lord. Like, all those are extremely important. But I want to just make sure that we emphasize one thing, is that building up great men doesn't mean that we devalue women. Actually, it's the reverse. Building up great men also means that as we do that, we make sure that we point to say we value women as well. And so that is extremely important that we do. We're not perfect. I'm not perfect. But I would say this is that I know that I have a lot of growing to do, but it all starts being rooted in the faith. But it's all about wanting to make a positive change in the community as well, whether it's the stories that I do or me being on radio, me being on TV. The biggest change and the biggest emphasis I need to have is being at home and making sure I make that positive change for my wife and my family as well. So that's what's important. And I appreciate this time as always. And it's great to be able to talk about just this fatherhood and the joys of being able to be a part of it.
Well, thanks again, Justin Adams, for being a part of our SKP Talks. We can just go on and on, I'm sure, but for now, appreciate you being with us. And thanks everyone for listening. Until next time, we look forward to having a great day together. Bye now.